Well, of course, they're doing a lot to highlight the problem in racism, taking a knee. Doing what they're doing this weekend is a fantastic way, because it's so media attentive and it gets to the imagination of the public, to highlight the problems in racism. It does nothing to cure them, but it does it to highlight them. So, of course, I like them once now to then actually move on from, highlighting just taking or what they're actually doing this weekend.
To that end, you've actually written a book, haven't you, recently, The Uncomfortable Truth About Racism. Tell us about it.
Well, it's not to the end of to that end in terms of sport or football. It's about life. I know some people may think it'll cause controversy, because it's really about, in my opinion, the way to come to the solution for racial inequality. It's not just about race. It's also intersectional and about gender. It's also about homosexuality. And what we have to do is we have to do it from a bottom down approach, because we are quite happy to look at the elite, the footballers and the actors and the singers and female prime ministers and women in the high echelons of society, and elevate them out of that negative space where society generally sees women, black people, gay people, and feel that we're doing something because we have more representation up above. But that's not going to change. What we have to do is we have to start down below and change what's happening down from a black perspective in the inner cities, in terms of what's going on with knife crime, what's going on with inequality in jobs and education, and change our perception of the average black person or the average woman or the average gay person, not elevate the brilliant ones in that group into these positions of power and to give the illusion that we're doing something because we have more representation up at the top.
You, of course, John, many of us older viewers will remember the abhorrent racial abuse that you had to deal with when you were playing football. Do you feel that that all of us as a society have made real progression since then?
Well, the proof is not whether a banana comes on the field. The proof is whether we're having more opportunities in the cities for our kids, and whether we're being given more opportunities to access to social care and jobs and housing, and whether, the average woman. So we can give the illusion, because of course we don't hear it anymore in the stereotypes like we used to. But that doesn't mean, if you look at what's going on generally speaking, that racism is getting any better. So overt racism in football isn't what it was back then. But that doesn't mean that racism generally for the majority of people, or sexism or homophobia, is any different. And football can do nothing about that. Football can only pass laws to govern its own house. That's not going to change people's perceptions. So what we have to do is change people's perceptions about what they consider to be people less than them, be they black, be they gay, be they female, or other dynamics.
Do you think the United Kingdom is racist as a nation?
Not more so than anywhere else. But I believe that we are, and never mind as a nation. Martin Luther King said, that in 1963, that a shallow understanding of racial bias is much more detrimental than the total and absolute understanding by bad people. The shallow understanding by good people is worse than the total misunderstanding by bad people. What he means is that we believe that as long as we don't throw banana on the field and the ones who do are racist, if we don't rape a woman, as long as we don't, we're not sexist. The majority of us would never do that, because we have a shallow understanding of what racism and sexism is. And we believe it's a binary either or. Most of us are sexist, racist, homophobic, to a certain degree, certain or lesser degree. But we believe as long as we don't overtly do something, we are not. And most of us are somewhere in between that. And until we accept it within ourselves and understand why we are, because of how we have been conditioned to think for hundreds of years in terms of racial hierarchy, gender hierarchy, all of us, nothing will change. We'll wait for the ones who get caught, and it will come down hard on them and think that's the solution to the problem. But we have to look at ourselves.
Okay, so once we accept that, what do we do about it?
We accept it. So then what we do is say, why do we think the way we do? And then we understand that this is how we've been conditioned to think.
Oh, I think we've lost John.
This is how we've been conditioned to think. Give me one
John,
second.
we thought we lost you, but you're back.
No,
sorry,
back.
You were just making your point. Do forgive me.
Yeah, sorry. And because this is how we have been conditioned to think for hundreds of years. And we believe that a simple solution is to pass laws. It's been illegal to rape and kill, but people still do it. We have to stop up. Yes, we have to pass laws to control that. That's what we can do. But we have to change perceptions. And where do those perceptions come from? In the last 300-400 years, there's been a group of people who have been superior to other groups of people because we have been lied about by their character, their worth, be they Irish, be they black, be they women, because this is what we have done in the last 400 years, and we have to deconstruct that. And it's not as simple as saying everything you've learned and been conditioned is wrong. Why? Because we're all the same. And we're trying to do it in a very quick, simplistic way. A lot of it has to do with elite and non-elite as well, because, of course, a lot of black people and women will be allowed to become elite and not be exploited, not be discriminated against, while the group we belong to still will be. And we kid ourselves that because we have a black president and a female prime minister. It doesn't exist. Conditioning has made us feel the way we do, and we have to deconstruct what we have been conditioned to think, which is a very long process and a very complex process. But we're trying to simplify it by just saying it's illegal to do it, so don't do it.
John Barnes, his new book, The Uncomfortable Truth About Racism, out now. John, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.